I told myself it was just a trip, just a few days where I could breathe without explaining myself to anyone. Vegas felt like the perfect place to disappear for a moment, a city built on pretending, on neon lies that everyone agrees not to question. When people asked if I was married, I smiled and said no. The word felt strange and thrilling on my tongue, like I was borrowing someone else's life. I didn't wear my ring. I didn't check in at night. I let myself believe that what happened there would stay there, sealed behind hotel doors and flashing lights. At home, my husband thought I was finding myself. That's what I told him before I left, that I needed space to feel like me again. He hugged me for a long time at the airport, longer than usual, and I remember feeling annoyed by it. I wanted freedom, not comfort. I didn't realize how much that hug would haunt me later. In Vegas, I became lighter, louder, bolder. I laughed with strangers, drank too much, danced like no one knew my name. I told stories about a fictional ex, a life where I was unattached and unburdened. I met him on the second night, leaning against a bar that smelled like spilled alcohol and false promises. He believed my lies easily. Everyone does when they want to. We talked about dreams, about places we wanted to go, about how lonely it can feel even in a crowd. When he touched my hand, I didn't pull away. I told myself it wasn't cheating because I wasn't being myself. That logic made sense only because I wanted it to. By the time we went back to his room, the guilt had been drowned in music and lights. The affair wasn't dramatic or cinematic. It was quiet in the way secrets often are. In the morning, sunlight cut through the curtains, and reality crept back in. I left without saying goodbye, convincing myself it was just a moment, already fading. On the flight home, I put my ring back on and practiced looking normal. I rehearsed my stories, smoothed out the cracks. I promised myself I'd be a better wife now that I'd gotten it out of my system, as if betrayal could be balanced by future kindness. For a while, it worked. Life slipped back into its routine. My husband cooked dinner, asked about my trip, listened while I gave him edited versions of the truth. He didn't accuse or question, and that somehow made everything worse. I started noticing the small things I'd ignored before, how he remembered my coffee order, how he waited up for me when I worked late. The guilt grew heavier, sitting between us like a third presence. I told myself I'd take the secret to my grave. I underestimated how fragile secrets are. One night, weeks later, he sat across from me at the kitchen table, his phone face down between his hands. He didn't yell. He didn't cry. He asked me calmly if I had been faithful in Vegas. My heart dropped so fast I felt dizzy. Somehow, he knew. A message, a photo, a moment of carelessness I couldn't even remember. The lie I tried to tell died halfway through my sentence. My silence confessed everything. The look on his face is something I will never forget. It wasn't anger. It was devastation, pure and quiet. He asked me why, and I had no answer that didn't sound selfish. I tried to explain the loneliness, the need to feel seen, but the words felt hollow even as I said them. He listened, nodding slowly, like each sentence was another cut. When I reached for him, he flinched, and that hurt more than any shout could have. The days that followed were heavy and slow. Our home felt unfamiliar, like we were guests in our own lives. He slept on the couch. We spoke only when necessary, our voices careful and distant. I realized too late that pretending to be single hadn't made me free. It had made me careless with something precious. The thrill of Vegas faded quickly, but the consequences stayed, rooted deep in our everyday moments. I don't know how our story will end. Some nights, he looks at me like he's trying to remember who I was before I broke his trust. Other nights, he avoids my eyes completely. I would give anything to go back and choose differently, to wear my ring proudly and tell the truth even when it felt boring. Now all I can do is sit with the sadness I created and hope that time, patience, and honesty might one day soften the damage I caused, even if it never fully disappears.